Hello everyone. I wanted to take the time to thank everyone who has supported the channel. It is greatly appreciated. Remember to take a look at the polls and take some votes. Your opinions are important. Friday the 22nd will be a double video night, so keep an eye out. It's been a few weeks since I laid that shapeshifter to rest. After a bit of R&R, I'm back on the road chasing my next case. Reports of a massive, hairy humanoid creature stalking the forests of rural Oregon. Witnesses describe something more beast than man lurking among the trees. My mind goes to the legends of Bigfoot, but if this thing is real, it sure ain't no gentle giant. As I navigate muddy logging roads headed toward the thick of the forest, I can't help but feel watched, like eyes are peering from the gloomy woods. I pass a makeshift memorial for a man named Dale Carter, presumed dead after a supposed Bigfoot encounter. If locals are right, he won't be the only victim. I stop to speak with a nervous group of campers packing up to leave after claims of a large bipedal creature hooting and circling their camp at night. They seem relieved to see an armed stranger, warning me that these woods ain't safe with that thing roaming around. I assure them I can handle it and send them on their way. Wouldn't want civilians caught in the crossfire. Deeper into the mist-shrouded trees, I finally come across fresh destruction. Massive trees ripped from the roots, claws marks gouged deep into the bark. The trail leads to a trampled campsite, littered with ravaged gear and blood-soaked scraps of clothing. I examine footprints wider than my head sunk deep into the mud. I'm on the right track. As dusk settles, I sling my rifle loaded with consecrated iron rounds and prepare for a long night of hunting. I set up camp in a small clearing, building a fire. Then I wait, ears straining into the encroaching darkness. The shadows slowly creep longer as the firelight flickers among the trees. Then finally, a distant howl pierces the stillness, seeming to echo from all sides at once. It knows I'm here. Now the hunt begins. I douse the fire and plunge into the brush, following the unearthly sounds. Tree branches crack and sway violently as I pass. This thing seems more a force of nature than a creature. I catch a flash of matted fur darting behind a trunk. When I spin around, rifle aimed, only silence awaits. It's toying with me. A whistling rush of air is my only warning to dive aside, just before a log smashes the ground where I stood a moment before. I regain my feet as a hulking 8-foot mass of fur and muscle emerges, eyes reflecting the moonlight. It regards me briefly, then rears back and unleashes an earth-shaking howl. Time to dance. The beast charges with astonishing speed for its size. I barely manage to evade its swiping claws in time. My shots seem to only enrage the creature as it rips trees from the soil like saplings to hurl my way. Adrenaline pounding through my veins, I turn and run, firing backward to slow its advances. Just a little further and I can turn the tables. I burst into the clearing. The trap is set. The monster thunders after me, right into the tangle of pipes rigged to ensnare it from all sides. Spikes pierce flesh, eliciting an agonized, inhuman scream. But the blessed iron merely wounds, not kills. As it thrashes violently, I take aim at its face, a single shot to drop the beast once and for all. My finger squeezes, and my rifle clicks empty. No bullets left. Cold terror washes over me as its frenzied eyes fix on mine. With a roar, it rips free of the tangled trap and surges forward to finish me off. I barely roll away as mighty claws rake the dirt where I knelt a moment before. No more tricks or traps. Time for tooth and nail. As it swings, I duck beneath its arms and tackle the massive legs. All those hours wrestling werewolves pay off as I use leverage to topple the off-balance creature to the ground. Before it can rise, I mount its back, silver dagger raised high. One plunge straight down through the skull base. It thrashes in a death throw, then lies still. I nearly collapse with exhaustion, gasping for air. The hunting knife buried to the hilt protrudes from a distinctly inhuman skull. Not Bigfoot, but something worse. No time to rest. Need to burn it all down to be sure. Can't let this evil spread. As roaring flames consume flesh and bone, I limp away, bloody and spent. Another nameless horror banished back to hell tonight. But they'll just keep coming. Tomorrow brings another hunt, and the next night, and the next. Because the fight is never truly over. Not as long as darkness lingers in the hearts of man and monster. And I aim to bring light to every last shadow, whatever the cost may be. Soon I'm back on the road, leaving a trail of smoldering remains behind. A quiet sadness always follows the thrill of victory. All I can do is move on to the next hunt. The newly risen sun reveals endless forests cloaked in morning mist. Who knows what unseen malevolence dwells within? As I drive onward, the dark trees seem to watch my passing. But I'm watching too, ready for the day their secrets emerge to challenge me once more. I arrive at a dingy roadside motel as the sun sinks below the horizon, exhausted. Once locked safely inside my room, I wash the blood and grime from my skin and tend to my injuries. Claw marks raked across my shoulders, dark bruises blooming, occupational hazards. I repeat the familiar ritual, cleansing a deep spiritual stain, not just the physical. These things have to be done. There's no rest for the wicked, and wickedness lurks in the hearts of man and monster alike. I've seen the carnage they leave, innocent lives shattered beyond repair. If my own hands must become stained to spare others from that fate, so be it. I drift into a fitful sleep, gun close at hand as always. Midnight creeps closer, the witching hour when darkness reigns. I wander twisting forest paths endlessly, hearing faint screams echoing between the trees but unable to reach them. Glimpses of pale, startled faces passing behind ancient trunks. Predator and prey. A distant howl snaps me awake, heart pounding. Just dreams, if only they were. Shaking off the visions, I load the truck and leave early. Can't risk being stationary too long lest the horrors find my scent. I try tuning the crackling radio to a news station, hoping perhaps to catch wind of strange events that might lead to a new case. Only static whispers back. These back roads stretch on, forgotten, forsaken. Fertile haunts for the things that shun the light. The sun creeps across the sky behind an oppressive blanket of gray clouds. Shadows slowly leach color from the world, leaving only muted hues. Another night's lurking. I need to stay focused on the road, but my heavy eyelids keep trying to drag me under. How long since I've slept well? The days and miles blend together now, always moving, moving on. Can't stop, or the past might catch up. The radio continues its ghostly hissing, punctuated by odd clicks and pops. I smack the dashboard, which elicits a brief burst of garbled voices before the empty static returns. Nothing but dead airwaves out here. Street lamps flicker to life as I pass through yet another nameless rural town. Plywood covers the windows of a gas station shuttered forever, weeds overtaking the cracked concrete. The only souls outside are leaning against the chipped paint facade of a corner bar, regarding my unfamiliar vehicle with casual suspicion. Their hollow, hardened faces testify to the ravages of liquor and time. I meet the eyes of each stare with a subtle warning. Just passing through, no quarrel. Their sinking forms recede into the rear view as darkness reclaims the silent streets. The smells of long-gone dinners still seem to emanate from weathered farmhouses languishing by the roadside. What lives and memories once filled those muted rooms, now abandoned. My headlights cut a feeble swath through the shadows as the blacktop dissolves into gravel, then dirt. It's been hours since I passed another vehicle. The trees are closing in again. I wrestle with the realization that I've been driving aimlessly, no destination in mind. Never staying still long enough for nightmares to take root, yet unable to move forward either. Caught in a wasteland between worlds. The mundane fading behind, the supernatural still obscured ahead, just out of sight. Relentlessly hunting monsters yet running from my own. Always in motion, never progressing. Is this purgatory? Or have I carved out a hell of my own? A shape on the side of the road resolves into a figure signaling for help next to a sputtering car. I pull up cautiously, hand on my concealed firearm. As I step out, the looping static of the radio increases in volume and pitch from inside the truck, setting my teeth on edge. Approaching the stranded motorist, I call out offers of assistance. He turns, and my stomach drops. A pale, eyeless face framed by dark curls. Dale Carter, the memorialized man who supposedly fell prey to the creature I now hunt. But he was reported dead weeks ago. His corpse smiles sadly and mimics my voice, repeating back my words in a stuttering mockery. Darkness crowds my vision as the radio lets loose an ear-piercing screech. I jolt awake to pre-dawn half-light filtering through grimy windows. Just a nightmare, thank God. The ghostly Dale Carter meant something, a warning I cannot continue on this path and escape the dark fate awaiting at the end. I rub my bleary eyes and focus on the rising sun. It's a new day, time yet to change course. I devour a hot meal at the next Tiki-Tac diner and chat with the locals, not letting on my true purpose. They share rumors of unusual sightings and missing pets. I take notes discreetly. Just an average Joe enjoying his flapjacks. No need to scare them with the reality of what's out there. After paying my check, I thank the kind staff and head out renewed. These simple people in sleepy towns are well worth fighting for. Saving even one life or sparing one small community, the shadow of fear is reward enough. Tracking a winding creek leads me deep into a mossy ravine. An odd stillness hangs over the towering firs and cedars, their twisting roots grasping the stony outcroppings like ancient sentinels. I find disturbed soil and tufts of coarse hair snagged on brambles. It came through here, not long ago. The hunt is back on. Far from the lonely backroads I passed last night, the sun filters cheerily through the leaves by day. But I know once it dips below the ridgeline, an altogether different forest will emerge from the gathering dark. Still, I welcome the coming night, whatever it brings. The nightmare only grows more potent undisturbed beneath the veil of dreams and denial. Sometimes hunting the monsters without is the only way to drive out those lurking within. As the last fading rays relinquish their grip on the shadowy forest floor, I follow the tracks until they disappear into a swift-running stream. I hoped they would lead me right to the lair, but from here the creature could have traveled in any direction. With night falling quickly, I'll have to pick up the trail again tomorrow. I set up a discreet campsite and build a small fire, warding the perimeter with mystical sigils. Tonight, I rest, if only lightly. Something primal stirs out there, watching from the tree line. Let it look on for now. My turn will come with the dawn. Morning creeps in cold and foggy, the steaming remains of last night's fire keeping me company. The brief respite has refreshed me. No more driving aimlessly. Today I pick up the hunt in earnest. As I kick dirt on the last smoldering embers, a distant, deep bellow echoes through the mist like a taunt. It knows I'm here too. Good. No more games of hide and seek. Let's finish this. The morning fog drapes a damp chill over the colorless forest as I work my way upstream. I keep my eyes peeled for any sign of the beast's passage. Trampled vegetation, territorial markings, tufts of hair caught on branches. It's out there, and I must find its lair before it finds me vulnerable. Around midday, I come across a promising trail. Trees scored by deep claw marks leading up a rocky bluff. I follow cautiously, rifle cocked and ready. The beast could be lying in wait around any blind corner, hungry for revenge. As I clamber up treacherous shale toward higher ground, the cloaking mist begins to thin. Soon I'll have the advantage of visibility looking down over the tree line. If I can spot the creature's refuge before it spots me, victory is close at hand. Pulling myself up over the ridgeline, I'm greeted with a view to remember. A breathtaking sea of emerald treetops sweeping to the horizon, framed by mountain peaks obscured in cloud. Below lies a pristine alpine lake, choked in places by dead trees and stumps like the skeletal hands of some colossal buried beast reaching for the sky. Untouched beauty. Hard to believe there are monsters lurking in the brush below. I survey the slopes, searching for any dark hollow or cave that could shelter the hulking creature. Then my eye catches on a sheer cliff face on the far side of the valley. At its base, a black crevice like a missing tooth in the bare stone. Bingo. I double-check my gear and weapons. I'll rest here until nightfall, then make my move under cover of darkness. This ends tonight. The sun sinks below the peaks, casting the valley in purple gloom. It's time. With limbered joints and determined purpose, I descend back into the sea of trees. The creature's lair awaits across the lake, and I must reach it quickly and quietly. No mistakes this time. The lives of innocents depend on my victory tonight. I weave between the monolithic trunks, senses alert for any sign of movement in the growing dark. The stillness feels heavy, oppressive, as if the forest holds its breath waiting for violence. I don't intend to disappoint. At long last, the muddy shoreline comes into view between the trees ahead. I've made it undetected. Now for the risky part. Luck is with me. The moon reflects brightly off the lake's glassy surface, illuminating a clear path across. Weapon and supplies secured in oilskin, I slip into the frigid water. The shock knocks the breath from my lungs, but I recover quickly. With slow, steady strokes, I paddle toward the sheer cliff opposite, a looming shadow barely separated from the night sky. Closer, closer. Soon it will have nowhere left to hide from me. I emerge sodden but focused, dripping lake water as I approach the cave mouth. Darkness gapes before me like a yawning abyss. Somewhere in its depths, my quarry lurks. But it will lurk no more after this night. I flick on my headlamp and cross the threshold, casting dancing shadows against the damp stone walls. The light reveals hundreds of bones littering the cave floor, gnawed, broken, scraped clean. Many belonging to creatures both animal and human. This has been its killing ground for a long, long time. But no more. Farther down, the tunnel narrows and splits into several smaller chambers. I clear each methodically, rifle sweeping back and forth, ready to fire at the first sign of movement. Empty so far, but the beast must be here. Its lair reeks of musk and offal. I just have to root it out of whichever foul corner it's curled up in. Almost too late. I hear the stealthy scuff of a footstep and whirl around. Two eyes ignite the darkness, then the creature explodes forward. I dive aside, its charge missing me by inches to smash into the cave wall. Rolling to my feet, I level my iron sights on the roaring giant as it turns to face me once more. For a heartbeat, we stare each other down, predator and prey, reflected in each other's gaze. Then as one, we lunge forward again, and the dance begins. In the narrow tunnel, the beast tries to use its superior size and strength against me, swiping and slamming me into the walls. But I'm quicker, landing blistering shots in its torso before dancing away from its clutches again and again. It tries to grapple, to pin me down and finish me off, but I keep evading by a hair's breadth, slowly driving it backward toward daylight. We emerge again into moonlight, both bloodied but still standing. It pauses, shuddering, glaring at me with baleful eyes. Raising my smoking rifle, I stare back unflinchingly. This ends now. You will plague this land no more. With a final roar of defiance, the beast charges straight into my barrage of gunfire. Iron shatters bone and pierces deep. The giant staggers, then collapses mere steps away from me. I cautiously approach the fallen creature as dark blood pools beneath its matted fur. It draws a last gurgling breath. Then the eerie eyes finally dim and see no more. I kneel and solemnly close those alien yet familiar eyes. For all the death and suffering it caused, it was only following its nature, as are we all. But its nature and mine could not coexist. I shoulder my weapons and prepare a pyre under starlight. Even monsters deserve some dignity in death. As roaring flames light up the night, I stare into the growing blaze. Another mission accomplished. More innocents spared from harm. I should feel proud, but I only feel hollow. The battle took as much out of me as the beast. All I crave now is rest, peace, an end to struggle. But I swore an oath to keep up the fight, whatever it takes. The fire will temper me into a sharper blade. I turn my back on the light and descend again into darkness. The road beckons once more as first light creeps back into the world. My path stretches onward. My hunt continues. Out of the fire and back into the frying pan. That's the life I chose. No rest for the wicked, and heaven help me.